Christopher Spera, and this is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 110. He ain't shooting raw. Recorded live Sunday, October 20th, 2024, live from iTechGear Central. As I said, I'm Christopher Spera, the editor-in-chief over at the iTechGear.org, and joining us today, still back from the out and abouts and the walkabout, former contributing editor over at Gear Diary and Pocket Now, and of course, editor over here at iTechGear.org, Mr. Chris Gavula. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you?
I am just Jim Dandy.
Jim Dandy? Not Jane Dandy or Joe Dandy?
Not Ducky?
No,
Not Ducky.
No,
Ducky?
today.
Okay, well that's
Jim
good.
Dandy.
That's good. Yeah, so we're doing good. Glad to be here as always.
Awesome.
Off we go.
Off we go. Also joining us today, the former writer, contributing writer over at Gear Diary, and of course the host of the Linux Link Tech Show and living in the Retro Arcade podcast, and as always, of course, editor here at the iTechGear.org's brother Joe McLaughlin. How are you, sir?
Doing well. I may record, I don't know. We'll see how I feel after we get this show. I may record a Retro Arcade tonight, but I've been really slacking on it. Of course, my physical fitness and my physical struggles is taking precedence over lots of things.
No, I get it.
So I did a 14-mile hike yesterday.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was not anywhere. It broke my record, but that I set on the Mammoth March, but it's nowhere near as tough because it was flat.
I was going to say, I mean, if you can walk 14 miles, though, good on you.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Still, yep. So
that's awesome.
And I get my actual update on my sleep apnea crap on Friday, so I'm looking forward to that.
Sweet.
So it's going to be a good week, man.
Awesome. You're
Nice.
right. It is going to be a good week because it's going to be just fine. Everything's going to go swimmingly, as it were.
I hope so.
That's what we'll tell ourselves, right?
That's it.
Yes.
That's what we like to tell ourselves anyway.
As long as another hurricane doesn't hit anybody. But, hey.
Yes. Well, tomorrow is another day.
It is.
And also joining us last but never, ever least, the former co-owner of WUGNET Publications and also, of course, editor here at the iTechGear.org's Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. How are you, sir?
I am fine. Unlike the show title, I have learned not to use my iPhone in RAW mode.
There you go.
It was built, I think it works well as a great point and shoot, and that's just what I use it for.
It is. It is a great point and shoot. And I will tell you, though, that I am kind of missing my DSLR. I am. I haven't had the need to I mean, it takes such great pictures right now, even as just a point and shoot,
It does.
It really, really does. So I
16 Pro is such a great camera.
I have to say, this last week I was at a Halloween event and I took pictures of using both the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the OnePlus Open.
Yeah.
And got some very interesting results, but perfectly content with the quality of the pictures out of both and either. So anything newer, bigger, faster to me is wonderful.
Bionic even.
It's bionic even. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh,
I know.
Didn't need that one. Once again, you've amused yourself and no one else. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, what is new though? What is
What's
speaking
new?
of new
What's
things?
new? What's new?
The Apple has released yet another iPad mini. I believe this is seventh generation, right?
It is 7. You are correct.
7th generation, the second one to include USB-C.
Nice. Nice. Joel, what's going on with that?
So this was one of those little secret little updates. They didn't have an announcement for it. It has the big thing that they're pushing with this, and this is the thing I'm not getting about Apple's marketing now, is they keep pushing something that none of their devices really have yet, Apple Intelligence. At least not yet anyway. But the new Mini comes with this A17 Pro, which is the same chip that's in the latest iPhones.
I was going to say it's in the iPhone 16 Pros, isn't it?
Yep, it is.
It is.
So it's a little different though, because I think it has less RAM, I think, than the iPhones do, I think, if I remember right. But other than that, I'm not buying one because we all know I like big screens and I cannot lie. So,
But
but I
That is a
am.
past
So
show
that's
title.
why I have a iPad Pro right now.
No,
So and I now I don't have the biggest one, and I might on my next upgrade go to the biggest one, but we'll see when that happens.
well,
But that's not happening for a while.
even still,
Right.
you know, it's interesting. I had been saying, and Chris, you'll remember this. I had been saying I wanted
Mhm.
Apple Pencil support on the Mini when because I had minis, I had the Mini 1, 2, and 3. All right.
Right.
And I believe when
Gen 6 had it.
Gen 6
Well,
has Apple support, pencil
Yep.
support.
But
I have it.
I like that they've continued this on, and I like Apple Pencil support on all of their
Well, and they've made this one
tablets.
support the Pro now, the Pencil
Mhm.
Pro, so it's not the
Right.
previous generation Pencil.
Right.
So that or the Pencil 2 or anything like that. It's
Oh,
the
it's-
current generation.
Yeah.
I believe they also fixed the Jelly Roll issue, if I remember correctly, what I've been reading.
That's what she said.
Jelly roll.
Yeah, so the complaint was that on the previous Mini that the screen
have a
didn't always
bounce or
keep up. It
something?
didn't keep up with the scrolling. So
Oh.
you would get uneven
Oh.
scrolling. And
Okay.
supposedly that's cleaned up. It's a little better refresh rate or something, and they've
Nice.
improved it a little bit.
Nice.
So, well, so I think there's been a lot of little improvements, but I was kind of hoping for something
Awesome.
bigger, but it's okay. It's okay.
Well, there's still a lot to like in this
Well,
small
it's a
yet
nice
mighty
package. No, it's a great package. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but I guess maybe I was hoping maybe we'd get an OLED screen this time, or some other big,
Right.
exciting new feature. There's nothing big here. That's all little
No.
things, but that's
No,
okay.
but if $499, for the 128
It's-
gigabyte model, that's not bad.
I mean, they bumped the amount of RAM up because the default RAM used to be 64. Now it's 128. And they did give you, obviously a faster processor, and they did obviously
Right.
improve the screen a little bit, enough
Right.
to resolve some of the issues. So, I mean, if they've obviously stayed with the USB-C. They gave you Apple Pencil Pro support now. The new Pencil is supported. So,
Right.
it's all good. I mean, it really is all good.
It
It's
is.
just-
Is it me or does it have a flash on the back? It looks like it does.
It does, yeah. I
It
think
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
Well,
that's the first
uh,
iPad I've ever seen that had a flash because mine doesn't have one. But
to go along
interesting.
with what Joel
mine does.
said about
Mine
the
does.
iPad, or about it not having
Oh,
any
never mind. It does.
intelligence.
I'm just.
It does.
It
yeah.
never mind. It does. I just don't take pictures with my iPad because
Yeah,
it makes
exactly.
it look like a
It does.
tool.
Exactly. Very
Well,
few people do. Those folks that do, I definitely put in the soccer mom sort of category.
Wait a
They
minute.
look
fair.
like
The guy
fools
that,
when they
no,
do
the
it.
guy that comes out when you take your car in for service,
All
they
right.
always
Does.
shoot a picture of something and then they move on. But
Right. No,
know,
and it's
the-
probably on an iPad because they're probably doing some sort of order
They are.
intake,
Yeah.
and it's probably an iPad.
But I have to say, it's
outside
nice.
of the professional area, outside of the
Right,
professional
right,
side, I, mean,
right.
I don't know too many folks that aren't soccer moms.
I have never taken a picture with an iPad. I can state that unequivocally.
No,
But,
I
and
have, but only in a pinch. I mean, that's it. I mean,
I've not taken a picture with an iPad that, and I've never used the rear camera, except
Joel, it's
use the front
interesting
camera.
Joel, it's interesting what you said about Apple doesn't really have any AI out there yet. They just yesterday admitted that, or maybe it was a full or a carryover from Friday's news. I don't think so though.
Well,
They have
like every
stated- Well, no,
single
no, they-
ad I
they-
see for
wait.
the phone.
They state that they are 2 full years behind.
No,
in
let's be clear on this,
AI.
Larry. They didn't state it as a company. Some employees at Apple made the comment to some
Yeah.
people
Okay.
that they
Yeah.
felt Apple was 2 years behind.
Is that
That's
the
a
way it
very
really
different thing.
was? Okay.
That's a very different thing. Yeah.
it is.
I would
because don't
agree
think
with
that
them
Tim,
though, Chris. I really would.
I
well,
would
I
in
don't
some
think
ways,
Tim or
but
Craig would go ahead and say that.
no, of course not.
They're not. They're 2 years behind in releasing it because they may be
Right.
doing it, but
Maybe that may be the case, but we got to be careful here. Again, I've said this before. AI doesn't have to be this big flashy, chatbot in interface. It's the little
No.
things. Okay. And Apple has introduced some AI features in the cleaning up of handwriting in Notepad, in the mathematics when you're using Notepad, or the
The
summation
picture
of your
effects
messages.
that they're using in photos and things.
It's not as big and obvious is some of these things like you're seeing in the Pixels with the photo app and some of that stuff that it's doing to clean up those pictures. That's a little more obvious, a little more blatant. It's true, but to say that it's not there at all and they're not releasing anything is kind of is kind of incorrect. They are. They're just sort of sneaking the little things in here and there.
But it's not truly what they're talking about in the marketing of what Apple Intelligence
I know,
is.
But again, to me, AI is kind of a false marketing tool term anyway. So we
already discussed that.
We have.
We know that.
I mean, we beat that one up. And
so to say that Apple's not doing it, it's like, so.
Yeah, honestly, reaction. I wish they would just call it what it is. But I think the problem with what it is that people are going to be like, well, what the hell is large language models?
Yeah, it's all that.
Right.
That's the thing. And they had to come up with a term for it.
But to pull it back,
the wrong one.
But to pull it back to what Apple is advertising, this whole thing, they're not saying, gee, this has Apple Intelligence. What they're saying is they're built for Apple Intelligence. So their NPUs are in there and they're ready for, they're prepped for it. That's what they're saying. Now that's, is it clear as mud? Of course it is, because that's called marketing. but I want to make it clear. They're not outright saying something that isn't true here.
Oh,
they're not, they're what they're saying can be interpreted a couple of different ways, but basically they're saying the hardware is built for it. Okay, great. You've got, and that you do, because you have the A17 Pro in it.
And
the
it's got
A17 Pro is the
a
chip
revamped neural engine in it. Right?
Yeah, so that's exactly why. So it's there.
Yeah, they keep on saying built for Apple Intelligence, built for Apple Intelligence. Great. I'd like to see some released a little bit more, and maybe a little bit more up front.
I would too.
I just paid $1,200 for your damn phone. Now give me some of that AI.
There you go.
Right. Yeah.
It's nice to know that you're capable of doing it, but until you do it,
right,
you haven't seen. That's
it ain't shooting raw. I'll tell you that.
But they are doing it in little ways. They are doing it in little ways. They're just not doing it in big ways. Have
you guys noticed the little nuances that Apple has just started with 18 or iOS 18 with Siri? If you say, "Hey, S," and you pause just briefly before you give it the command, she goes, like, what do you want? What do you want? It's weird.
Jeez, I haven't tried that.
As
yet,
I don't use Siri.
Me neither.
Yeah, she does. She does now say, yeah, she more acknowledges, that you've called her name. Right.
And that she's ready to listen.
Right.
Well, okay. I guess that's okay.
See, some of that,
I don't know if it's.
I wish they would give me a toggle for that, to tell you the truth. I really do.
I do too.
I need a toggle for that, because I would like to say,
are you sure there isn't one? Have you looked?
No,
I need to look, but my guess is that it's not there, because
my guess is too. You're right.
Because it's one of those attention getting things, because I want to be able to say, "Hey, S, do this," and I want it to be a single flowing sentence, and just have her go, "Okay, well, I've done this for you now."
Well, don't pause.
Right. Well, I don't.
Sure.
I go, "Hey, S." Every day when I leave I go into the office Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and every day that I leave to come home, I always go, "Hey," I always want to say, as I'm driving out of my parking space, "Hey, S, tell Michelle Spera that I'm on my way home." And I want it to be that one fluid sentence.
And you wanted to just do it, not say, "Are you sure you want to send it?"
Actually, I'm happy for the protections, but to what you guys kind of said a minute ago, I'd love to see a toggle you would either enable or disable it, then depending on your preference.
That'd be kind of nice.
Because I like I like that extra layer of, and I think the thing just tells me I've got to wait before it's actually listening a second. It may not be listening until it says something. You know what I'm saying? There might be that slight pause, and maybe that's fine. But you're right. It'd be nice to be able to turn it off.
Right. Right. I would like to be able to do that, because I would like it to be just one natural flowing sentence. "Hey, yes, please tell Michelle Spera that I'm on my way home." And then she comes back and says, "To Michelle, I'm on my way home. Send it." And then you say yes, right? I would also, because weird thing, and Michelle laughed at me the other day when I did this, because I did the same kind of thing when she was also in the car trying to text our daughter. And I said, "Hey, yes, tell Amanda I said this." And, I hear, to Amanda, the message, "Send it." And I said, "Yes, please." All right. And my wife kind of chuckled at me. And I would love to be able to have her acknowledge the fact that I said, please, and have her say, you're welcome or something. All right. I would like it to be a more natural conversation.
I was going to say, when I do that in the car, it does say something. It says sent. That's what it says.
Well,
and she actually varies it. Sometimes she'll say, okay, I've sent it.
Right.
Sent, or whatever. But she does vary her responses.
But you understand
but
what
she
I'm
never
saying.
says
I would like it to be.
It would be nice to have more of a conversation.
Yes. So I'm not saying, but I'm just saying.
That may be what's coming. Who knows?
You never know. Right. So
Okay.
you know what else is interesting that's kind of sort of making a comeback. All right. You say new things.
Trying to.
Well,
trying to.
Physical
for second generation anyway.
Physical keyboards for phones. Are they really still a thing? Because in some ways, some of them are coming back to us, aren't they, Larry?
A physical keyboard.
Are they coming back? Are they still a thing is the question. And it depends. It depends. I mean, for those of us who grew up thinking the BlackBerry was the best thing ever, I say yes. But with full understanding that it's a personal perspective. And in the case of the Clicks keyboard case version 2, what's more important is the developer of that product actually did something that very few hardware or software people do and get right at all. They listened to every word version 1 users liked about it, hated about it. Then they implemented only those they did nothing they wanted to do. They did precisely what the user wanted. And they said, this will either fly or it won't. We hope it flies, but this is your baby. You said do A, B, C, D. So we did that. We took away X, Y, Z, and it's no longer there. So here it is.
But only for the newest model phones.
That's true. But let me just say something about that. It only works with the iPhone 16 right. You know what? So freaking what? With many new things, you got to draw a line somewhere in compatibility. And if that starts yesterday, so what? They decided their line had to be here to give the users what they wanted. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't.
It would be nice if it worked with the still work with the 15s, but I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Though. All right. I hear
when you're a third party product, you really ought to have your longevity a little bit more.
You probably
in my
should.
opinion, but but I get it, and I think they were a little not as clear initially about it only working with the 16. They were, but they weren't. They didn't.
They didn't tell anybody, did they?
They didn't go out of their way to say, "Hey, by the way, this version 2 isn't available on the earlier model."
That's true. That's true.
They didn't go out of the way, but it's there and it's fine. You're right.
But I do get it. If you got a 15 or a 14, it's a great phone. You're not going to trade probably, so you can't use version 2.
Well, and especially when they've now said, "Hey, we have this great version 2 where we fixed all the problems you complained about with version 1. Oh, but by the way, you can't have it." That's a little insulting for the people that kind of pioneered the first generation.
Yes, but interestingly enough, if you look at the article that we're citing from 9 to 5 Mac, there's a comment by a guy with the handle of Fix-A-Man, right? And he says, I wish they made this as a slider keyboard.
Yes, I would agree.
That would only take that you would only take out when you needed it, which I agree with. Yeah, the case would be much thicker, but the form factor would make much more sense. And I think he's dead on.
And if they made it that way too, then hey, you could probably plug it into some Android phones too.
Yeah,
and it would work
somehow.
Yeah, as long as the size was right. Yeah, you probably could.
As long as the size was right, and as long as you didn't have a problem with the camera hole in the back.
I don't have mine yet, but have you guys played with this phone, this keyboard?
Not yet.
No. You know what? It is like butter. I mean, honest to God, it is so smooth. It feels so good. But I actually think they'll sell some of these. I really do.
Where did you get to try it at?
A friend of mine's got the first one. That's all. I haven't tried
the first generation, not the second generation.
Not the second one.
Again, there were some big, significant flaws and challenges with the first generation.
There were,
and so, I own an older phone. I would have considered the second generation if they would release it with the flaws fixed. That was one of the reasons I didn't buy the first generation of
exactly.
The limitations were too severe for me.
Right. And I would like to see the slider version. I had if those that remember step into the Wayback Machine with me for a minute, Sherman. Those that remember the phone from iMate called the PDA 2K. All right.
I do remember
Siemens
it.
had a version of this out here in the States, but it was still made by iMate, or which we knew to be HTC, right?
Yep.
And you slide this thing, you slide the screen up, and the keyboard drops out of the bottom, and it was a nice little bubbly chiclet keyboard, but it made the device in and of itself all that much larger, and it was pretty thick, even for back in the day. It was pretty thick, but it made so much sense because I could only have the keyboard available when I wanted it.
But there's a great problem with that, Chris, that when you do that, the keyboard that drops out is thinner than the main device. It doesn't feel integrated like this one does. It's hard to hold. I remember that device.
Yeah. I
There's
hear
challenges. There's challenges with any of these designs. So, I get it. It is what it is. Again, it may be that, this thing came out, the version 2 is only on the iPhone 16, but they're building in small batches with this. They're not a big manufacturer.
Not a
They
big
may
shop.
they may start to roll it back toward the older devices, once this is out a little while. They may do that. It's hard to say, but
I would think
we'll
if
see.
it works, they would push it toward Android too.
Well, yeah, but again, the trick is with each of these is to make it fit specific models. You wouldn't be able to make it generically work for everything, right? You're
Too many
gonna only fit
models of
certain
Android.
right.
There's ways you could do it. It wouldn't be that difficult.
It might make it bulkier though, so it's hard to say.
or a little bit jankier, but
Yeah, I'm with you.
But
anyway, we'll see.
I don't think it's impossible to do that. But on the
I
other
do
side of
think-
that too, they could have done something with Bluetooth. They didn't do that. They used the physical connection, which whatever.
But I do think to Larry's point, to the people that really, really, gotta have that BlackBerry type experience, this is awesome. For the rest of us that learn to deal with soft soft keys and soft keyboards, we're all gonna kind of go, okay, maybe okay, maybe not. But that's okay. They don't have to make it work for everybody. You don't have to make it
for
everybody.
an old fart, I've gotten pretty good at thumb texting. However,
sure.
it's not
we all
like
get there.
my BlackBerry.
Yep.
It's just
No, it's not.
No, it's not. I get it.
No, it's not. And honestly, they had a really good set of keyboards.
They did. The only thing that didn't work for me with the BlackBerry was the compromise there is you got the great keyboard, but you got a smaller screen. I didn't like that. That was the compromise.
You did.
That was what you always traded off. And it's like, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
True. Anyway, well, we'll see what happens with this. I would like to see it succeed. I would like to see it. I would like to see the compatibility at least drop one version back. And I know that that's probably a firmware thing that they can do, but
yeah, it's also a physical size thing. There's a slight difference.
There's a slight difference.
So you have to make the cases slightly different. And so I get all that. That's a challenge. I get it. So I hope they can, because that would be, I would absolutely consider one if they'd make it come back a version or two. I'd be there. Yeah, no question.
So speaking of the newer phones, my daughter and son-in-law have one, and my wife is very much intrigued with the button, right? Very much intrigued with the button. She hasn't said I gotta have one yet.
But
and she hasn't, she can definitely see, because you can definitely see, you take the same picture side by side, you can see a little bit of an enhanced difference with the pictures from the newer camera. But did you see where a number of unknown number is what Apple Insider
unknown number, love that
an unknown
phrase.
number of, but it's made enough, it's gotten enough display, or at least views, on both the Apple support sites as well as in Reddit, that say that the iPhone 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max models are having issues where they become very slow, or they freeze up, and then they will go ahead and just restart out of nowhere.
Good on them for restarting and trying to fix themselves. But
yeah.
But do we know? But we don't know how many people. This is a large percentage, a small percentage.
They don't say. Now, there was a recent update to iOS 18.0.1, but it does not seem to have resolved the issue. And there are some
Okay.
folks that are reporting this freezing crashing cycle, up to 20 times a day.
Wow.
All right, and that's
Whoa.
according to Mac Rumors.
Wow.
But this is really weird.
Yeah.
I know it's something that's going to get resolved. This is obviously some level of driver or display related issue where things just kind of go they freeze, and then
Yeah,
the phone
sure.
sort of rights itself and restarts. But it can happen at, I bet you, at some really inopportune moments,
Oh yeah.
and I mean, when you're in the middle of taking pictures or filming something, or if
Sure.
you're trying to look something up that's important, and it
Well,
just kind of acts out.
so let me ask you this. I mean, the model hasn't been out very long. Do we think
Nope.
it's just a couple of early build release issue kind of things, early iOS 18 on this model kind of release things that'll
Well,
get cleaned up? I mean, what do you think?
I'm hoping that this is just a software related issue.
Hmm.
I'm hoping that this is something that they're going to be able. It's an early adopter kind of thing, right?
Now you said you had some people using the new models,
My daughter and son-in-law
and
have,
have they had any trouble with theirs?
not that I'm aware of.
I have
Yeah.
not either, Chris. Not one.
So I don't know if it's that they've got specific issues with specific software,
Right, that's what I'm
or
wondering.
and it's just like a third-party app that's misbehaving and crashing in the background. I don't know. All right.
Yeah, hard to know. Hard to know. It's
The
true.
problem is that nobody knows really the scale of
Yeah.
this particular problem. Nobody knows how widespread
But how
this
many
is.
times have we heard that with a new problem? We'll hear it a
This is what
little
I'm
bit,
saying.
and then it goes away because it either got
Right.
fixed or really didn't affect a large number of people to begin
Right.
with, or whatever the
Right.
story is.
So
It makes splash at the beginning, and then it
Right.
disappears. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it.
Apple is the absolute master of fixing something and never letting you
and
know
never
that
letting
they-
anybody know that it was
That
even
is
a problem.
true. There's no question that they
You
do
know?
that.
So
So I'm
hopefully this will
curious.
be something like that
I
happens,
hope they
where they will
do.
just go ahead and just make it go away, and then it will
Just make it go
fade
away.
Because for
fade
those
into the
people,
distance, but
it's a real pain.
Absolutely true. And when you get those kinds of problems, I mean, if you're the guy that has the problem, it sucks. It really does. So I get it.
right. And unfortunately, I mean, this is really just on the Pro variants. The regular 16 and 16 plus, I mean, we really aren't hearing too much about those,
Hmm.
or this particular issue or a similar issue on those particular phones. But then again, the Pro series still is showing up to be the more higher, higher volume in sales devices.
That's true too.
Which is interesting because almost every feature that you see on the Pro devices is available on the series devices, right? Just the 16 and the 16 plus. So
Almost.
it made
Almost.
everybody go ahead and say, hey, I may even actually go ahead and get the 16 as opposed to the 16 Pro. They go into the shop and they say, hey, Pro, right? Everybody, it's the same thing.
But there are enough differences that I can understand why people do that.
Well, it's really more like you said, it's really just the size of the screen and the size
For
of the
me, it was
battery and
promotion. For me, I'm sorry.
and the kind of display, and then the
camera's
case
slightly different,
type.
isn't it?
Case type. The cameras are the same.
I thought they were different. I thought it was like a 3x versus a 5x or something like that.
There's,
I mean, I think they're a little different.
Probably.
I could be wrong.
I think you're right. No, I think you're right. There are some small variations between the
But
series
I think
and the
this year, for
Pros,
the
but
first time, the Pro and the Pro Max have identical cameras.
They do. They do.
Truly identical.
Yeah.
That part I think is absolutely true.
Yep.
That's what I think went away. But I think between the non-pro and the pros,
I believe you're right.
I think the
there.
camera's slightly different.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move us to our mobile Linux segment.
Okay.
And this next one came to me as a bit of a surprise because I didn't hear anything on this until I think it was Chris that you had said something to me about this.
Did I?
I think so.
I don't know. I see all
I could
kinds
be
of
wrong.
things.
All right. And if I am, guys, speak up and tell me, no, it was me. But but there was a reorg over at Google. And apparently this is a pretty big one. The Gemini app team is moving to DeepMind, and Google Assistant is now part of the Pixel and Android group. So I'm not sure what's, Sundar Pichai made this whole announcement, right? And he says that they are bringing teams closer together, and it will improve feedback loops, enable faster deployment of our new models in the Gemini app, and make our post-training work proceed more efficiency and build our great product momentum.
I would buy
Anybody
that,
buying that one?
but they moved the assistant away from there.
This is what I'm saying. Why would they
Why
do
would you
that?
do that? Yeah, wouldn't you keep that all together?
No,
I
I
don't
get
know.
it. I get it that, okay, a lot of it really takes place because they really don't have a quote unquote desktop. All right. And there are other,
True.
right. All right. They've got Chrome OS, but how many people are really using Chrome OS, right, as their daily driver? There aren't a lot. All right. Maybe over at Google, sure. But, outside of Google and maybe a couple of folks over, a couple of companies
Schools.
Schools got big into using Chrome for a while.
They
there.
did.
I don't think they are now. They're actually backing away from it now, but they were heavy in it for a while there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I know our school district is still heavy into the Google model with Chromebooks
Because
as
they
well
get a
as
given deal
Classroom.
free. That's fine.
they get a good deal. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. But I just don't understand why they would move it away from
I don't either.
Gemini.
I
Because
don't
that's what's
either.
powering it. I mean, that's what's powering their assistant, or will be
I
powering.
don't know. I guess we're gonna
Well,
see. Yes
and no. I mean, it's Google Gemini is certainly a different thing than the
It
assistant is. And there's no real cross. I wish there was, because that's what it needs.
Yeah.
because
Assistant does things that Gemini doesn't do yet, and things like that.
Right.
So yeah,
And
I get you.
according to Sundar Pichai, he says the instead of bringing that part closer to the Gemini team, the assistant closer to the Gemini team, he says assistant teams focused on devices and home experiences will move to platforms and devices, or the Pixel and Android division. Right.
Yeah.
This means the assistant teams can sit closer to the product surfaces they're building for and our AI-powered home initiatives into one team and focus on improving user experience.
Yeah, but then
None
they
of
split
that
the other.
sounds
But
like
then,
stock market speak.
I was just going to say, it sounds like,
Because
it sounds like a lot
is.
of rhetoric.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Trying
a lot of
to
fluff.
appease my shareholders.
Right.
make it look like you're doing something when you're really not. That kind of
Right.
thing.
Maybe I don't know, but I mean, let's be very, very frank about this. I mean, there's a lot of folks that don't necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of changes that are made with a lot of companies, and there are a lot of folks don't necessarily understand the meaning behind all of these changes. I don't understand the reasons behind some of these choices.
Well, that's why we ask, right? That's why we ask the
Right.
questions.
I know, but
'cause
even
we don't always understand.
even still, it's I don't know.
Yeah, there could be lots of reasons they're doing it or saying it. And we don't really know what that actually means in terms of body A is moving over here and body B is moving over here. It may be totally irrelevant. Who knows?
No, part of it may be, hey, we gave so and so a shot and they did a great job and thank you very much. And now so and so wants a shot at it.
Could be just
Who
that.
knows?
But it seems to me it all should stay together. But okay, whatever. Whatever. I don't get paid to run a company like Google, so what do I know?
And speaking of new devices that have come out,
we do.
There is a really interesting one. Chris, this is something that you and I had been sort of interested to see. And Joe, you really kind of were talking this sucker up. The new Kindle Color Soft.
Yep.
What's going on with that?
Well, good. Amazon doesn't generally do Kindle announcements at all.
No, they just kind of release it, don't they?
Yeah. And they released the Kindle Color Soft Signature Edition, which is comes with 32 gigabytes of storage and a color e-ink display, auto adjusting front light, wireless charging, and a long battery life. $279. This is the first Kindle in years I'm actually semi-interested in trying.
Yeah.
Well,
does anybody know?
Is this I think it's caught a lot of attention. Go ahead, Jerry, I'm sorry.
No, is this the same pay-per-view?
Paper-like view, yes.
Yeah, but color.
But color.
It's not. In other words,
color.
it's not in your face, backlighted like an iPad, right?
Correct.
No,
It's
but there
it's
is a
front,
light
it's
on
front
it.
light.
It's a
It's
front
front
lighted.
lit because it's e-ink.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's front lit. But here's the thing that you got to keep in mind. There are several e-ink technologies out there now. I don't
Correct.
know. I don't know if they've chosen the best one or just the cheapest one or what they've done here. And I'm going to be very anxious to see comparisons to other e-ink, color e-ink devices that are out there. The other
Yep.
thing I will tell you, I think what they did, I'm guessing, guys, is that they used the Kaleido 3 technology. And the reason I say that is because one of the big tells of that technology is that the black and white resolution is 300 kind of DPI, but the color is only 150. So when you're doing something in
Okay.
color, you have half the resolution or a quarter of the resolution or whatever that looks
Right.
like. You don't have the same resolution when in color.
Well,
Sure.
Amazon's well known for using the cheapest that they can do.
And
We
they've
know
done that
Yeah.
before, and I'm
But
going
they
to
do a
guess
good
that.
job of it. I mean,
But
Yeah.
even what I was going to say is just because they've done that and used the cheapest, they don't always have the worst implementation. Sometimes they have a very good implementation. So
Yep.
I'm going to be
Right.
very anxious to see when the comparisons, because this thing doesn't really hit the shelves until next week or so.
The
Right.
30th.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to
30th.
be anxious to see once people start getting them actually in their hands, comparing. There's a number of especially YouTubers out there that do nothing but look at these e-ink devices and the different, they compare the Kindles to the Kobos to the books to all these other, and they compare all these devices. I'm going to be very anxious to see how this plays out, because quite frankly, if it doesn't play out that well, I might be just happier myself with a color Android 12 device. Yes, Android, it's too kind of slow. E-ink is slow,
Right.
but and then running the Kindle app on it, that kind of
Right.
thing might be a
Sure.
better solution for some folks. So I'm
Sure.
really
Right.
anxious
give
to see where they
Amazon a
go
lot
with
of
this.
credit. And Kindle's a good product overall.
Oh, well,
I love
They
and
are.
it's always been a good product. It's a good
Always,
software
always.
app too.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
I don't think they'll screw this up.
I
really
take
don't.
that back. Let's be clear on it. The Kindle ebook readers, I would agree with you. The Kindle Fire products,
Oh
They're
they're
a
no,
shit
no,
show.
No,
yeah,
no,
they're
no,
kind
no,
of
no.
crap.
Their
I meant
tablets are a train wreck.
nothing but the
So
ebook.
I'm very
that's all.
very anxious to see where they go with this. I'm anxious to see how it compares to the other products that are out there on the market using this technology, because for me it's all about the display. The fact that it's color,
Right.
that's great, and I've got some uses for it. Larry, you and I were talking about use cases and why you might want it versus
And
not
they
wanting
make
it.
sense. They make great
and
sense.
and, and it's about, and for me it's all about, okay, you're getting more graphic novels, you're getting technical documents that are in color, you're getting a variety of things that are coming, books that are coming out more and more in color.
Cookbooks too might
And-
be in color too. I mean,
Yeah.
anything that would have a picture in it, and those
And you're
pictures
seeing
don't
that.
necessarily have to be
Nope,
super high resolution.
they do not.
They-
But
they
you're
don't.
seeing
You know
more
what's-
of it in Kindle books than you
Maybe
used to.
children's books, because they're going to have
Children's
a lot of
books,
illustrations.
but
Children's
you're
books.
absolutely seeing more and more of it in Kindle world. You're seeing more and more color books appear
Mhm.
in their marketplace. So
Well,
for
you're
me,
also, what else has been out there that's been in color for years? Graphic novels,
well,
right?
that's what I
Right.
said. That's one of the things I said early on. A
Okay.
graphic novel is a big reason for
Huge.
older people. And they buy it. Manga is another one. It can be color or black and white depending on
Yep.
on the series you're buying.
Right.
And there's more and more of it, and it's the perfect format for it.
And
It's
just
only
like my watch,
Yeah, it is a mini
which
device.
has a similar display,
It's
the
only
battery
a
life
7-inch
is gonna-
screen. But
well,
you
the
know,
battery life is going to be superior on this than
It
any iPad or anything else.
absolutely the e-ink
Right.
devices, and they'll be more visible outside than any
Yes.
iPad or Android tablet, because e-ink is just easier to read outside. So
Right.
there's a lot of use cases here, guys. I really
Right, right.
But,
I
So,
agree.
but
I
again,
Just to
are
go
they,
ahead,
to me, it's gonna be,
though,
are they
and-
the best
and-
at what they're doing?
Just to go
Right.
ahead though and provide a few specs. All right, this does come in at $280.
Mhm.
It is a 7-inch glare-free device. It
Yep.
is 300 pixels per inch black and white and 150 in color. So you were right there, Chris. The battery life will go up to 8 weeks. All right.
There you go.
All right.
Yep.
It does support wireless charging. It is adjustable to warm light. It will adjust font. It is an auto adjusting front light sensor. It does support audible via Bluetooth. It does have IPX8 waterproofing, and is bright up to 94 nits.
That's actually not very bright. So
No,
let's
it's
keep that in
not.
mind.
It's not,
But
but
it
it
doesn't
should
need to
be
be.
self-reflective, right?
Well,
You
and
should
e-ink
be able
shouldn't
to
need
see
it.
it. if you're reading in some kind of a light and you put light
Right.
on it, it's going to make the screen brighter.
Yeah, but you
Right.
should argue that it really doesn't need to be. E-ink is a different technology.
Correct.
It's not.
It doesn't need to be
Correct.
that bright.
When you say, because keep in mind, we're in an era where we're talking about phones that have over 2,000 nits brightness, and they're talking about 94 nits. It's not very bright, but it's not
Right.
supposed to
No.
be.
Correct.
No.
Correct. So this is actually not a bad device, and if you're really
Not at all.
if you're really into ebooks, and really have a huge Kindle library, or you're not into a tablet for reading, but you want something like this as opposed to an Android tablet or an iPad, or even a foldable mobile phone or something, this is going to be a really good choice.
Yeah,
We've
I'm going to
been
be
looking forward to this for a number
I
of
want
years.
to. I want to see how it compares to other color e-ink devices that are out there right now.
Right.
But I have a feeling, for the price, especially, it's going to probably compare pretty favorably. But we'll see.
Yep.
Sure. So
You
the
know
last,
what? Hey, one last quick thing. I just
Sure.
noticed something. When they brought this out, I'm on Amazon right now.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't sell what used to be their high-end Oasis, which is what I have.
Mhm.
They may have dropped it in lieu of this new one.
they may have.
I didn't
probably
think
have.
so, but well, I got who knows?
No, well, they also have another higher end device than this, the $399 Kindle Scribe, which does
Oh, yeah.
Kindle
Well, that's
reading.
I think the Scribe is
And
what replaced the
note-taking.
Oasis. I think the Scribe
Right.
is what what did that.
Well,
I think you're right.
well, there's quite a price jump between the Color Soft and the Scribe, right? The
Big one,
the-
$100 and some
Right.
dollars.
Right. I mean, the Scribe is $400.
Yeah,
Right.
I will tell you, last year I tried the Scribe, and for me, it was too dim. I needed it to be brighter,
Sure.
or it was okay outside, but it sucked indoors to me. But to me, it did. Other people,
When you're
wouldn't
trying to
have that
write
problem.
notes, yeah. I mean,
Use case,
to me,
use case.
right, use case,
Wrong
use case.
device for me for notes.
Yeah, that's
Right.
my iPad with the
Yep.
Yeah, me
Apple
too.
Pencil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yep.
So
And I'm more of a Surface guy.
yeah, well, and
Yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah, but that's a bigger device. That's a whole different animal.
Well,
It is a bigger
yeah.
device.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's
So
a different
so
category.
Much
Gotcha.
heavier.
Okay, so,
All right,
there
so
we go.
moving now to our last story in the mobile Linux segment. There's been
Ah.
some stuff I think going on as far as the Google Play Store is concerned. They've been accused of being a monopoly or having a monopoly on the Android side.
Well,
And
they've not only been accused of it, they've been
convicted.
They lost the lawsuit to
They got a
Epic.
judgment against them.
They got a
Found
judgment
guilty.
against them. Well, but it doesn't matter right now because those things are on hold.
Yeah.
Administrative hold. Yes,
Yes.
it's an
And
administrative hold.
what do they mean by administrative hold?
Well, so this was supposed to be done by November 1st. They were supposed to make these quote unquote changes to the Google Play Store to comply with whatever. And I think we've already talked about the fact that none of us really feel it was an appropriate decision, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, and it's also this is also stemming from a court case coming from one of our favorite gaming companies too.
Of course. And we know,
Epic.
so we all know
Epic.
there's ulterior motives going on here.
Right.
But having said all that, so Google said, "Hey, hang on a second. We're appealing this thing,
Mhm.
and that's a really short window to get this stuff done. But we're appealing this stuff. Shouldn't we be waiting until after this appeal happens?" And so basically, a judge has said that you are likely to get your appeal approval to get your appeal heard, because they're requesting the appeal be heard. Because you're
Okay.
likely to get that approved, we're going to go ahead and agree that we'll put a stay on this, an administrative stay on this, while your appeal gets approved.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it's technicality, but yes, they're being delayed for some unknown period of time while they try to get an appeal filed and in place, and then an appeal is going to probably take a few years. So while it's an appeal, it's likely not going to move forward either. So this is a
Don't you
delay
love
tactic,
it when a plan
but
comes together? Because I'm
it's a good-
serious with
I mean, it's
this.
a delay tactic, but it's a good delay tactic for them to make. It's understandable.
Well, I will tell you that between me, you, and the wall, I'm really not 100% overjoyed with some of the things that have happened with this particular case. I have an issue with the amount of whining that Epic is being rewarded for.
Yeah,
All right.
I would
That's
agree.
all they've done from the get-go.
That's all they've really done. all right, is wine. And it just really, between me, you, and the wall, I find it exceptionally annoying that they've been able to be so successful with these changes that they've requested. And
I mean, I get them saying something about Apple and there being a monopoly because they do have a monopoly. They're the only ones that let you sell apps on the iPhone, period.
well,
All right. At least in the US.
again, it's their device. Is it really a monopoly? I don't think so. Because you have a choice.
It is.
Devices. You have a choice
Yeah.
as a consumer. You have a choice of devices. As a developer, you also have a choice. Develop for the platform.
But if you
or
want to
not.
bring out an app for iOS, you only have one choice in the US currently.
But making that,
That's
you just
the
started by
truth.
saying if. That's a choice.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
It is, and everyone wants to have it on there. I mean, that's the
Yep.
thing. So I mean,
All right.
it's,
Well, then if you want to,
know-
if you want to play, if you want to go to the pool party, you got to follow their rules. All right.
Right.
You want to play in
But-
the pool with everybody else? Follow the rules.
the Google Play Store has never been a monopoly on
Google has never been
devices.
Google, there you go. Google has
True.
never been Apple. They don't have,
But
they're
there have always been
the
multiple
Microsoft
apps.
vice versa too.
kids. They're
The
the
thing
Microsoft
is, though-
of mobile devices.
Right.
In that they develop a platform that they distribute to other OEMs that can go
The
ahead.
thing is, though, and
create
this is one
devices for
important,
it.
right? One important difference, though, here is Google has never been the only app store available on Android.
But they have
period.
been the large majority always.
They are
They've
the
always had-
largest. Now,
They may be
Now,
the
by
largest,
far,
but
by
what
that doesn't
far.
Epic
mean
could have done, if they were so pissed off at
Yeah.
this, they could have just brought their own app stores
Yeah.
to the Android
which
device.
they could have
and
done
then they would
anyway
have been
because
done.
Amazon does it. Why can't they do it?
Exactly.
No,
And that's the
I
thing.
totally agree with that.
But what,
Yeah, I mean,
what we're missing here, gentlemen, is Google has always from day one made their money from you and me. Apple has made it from our credit cards. Totally
Yes.
different business models. I mean, it's facts.
True.
I love Google. Don't get me wrong. You know I do. But
But
they
that is
make
where
their
they
money
make
the
their
way
money.
they make their money, and that's it. If you don't like it, go somewhere else.
And
Yeah,
the thing
that's
is,
true.
they could go somewhere else real easy and stay on Android. And yeah, they could have even been exclusively Android for all that matter.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
I would have
that's
been
the thing.
fine with
Well, and I'll
Yeah.
say, we talked about this a long time ago. I disagree with them taking their case against Apple a few years ago. And, we all kind of went, okay, good. They didn't really win. They sort of won, but they didn't win, that kind of thing. But when they also went against Google, are like, wait a minute, it didn't work against Apple. Why on earth would you bring it against Google? What good would that do you?
and have it work.
And have it
and
work.
have
It
it
shouldn't
work.
have worked.
Next
It
biggest
shouldn't have worked
pot
for the
of
same
money.
reason. But for the same reason, it should have failed, but it didn't fail.
Correct.
It's like, really, this is ridiculous. So I think Google is absolutely in the right to appeal. I hope that they,
Yep.
I don't always agree with what they do or how they do it, but in this case,
In this case, I hope they're victorious. I hope
I
they
do
win.
too. I do too. I don't think they deserved to lose, to lose this case the way they did. I think it was idiotic. It was an idiotic decision. So here we go.
And what further really bothers me is that the people that are in charge of making these decisions don't understand technology. There
No.
are a few judges that may be technically savvy,
Well, if they
but they're just like
understood-
every other freaking politician in
But if
Washington. They don't know what they're doing.
But if they understood, then we would get consistent decisions, and we don't because they don't understand.
And the
No,
other
not
thing is who's got
inconsistency.
the most lawyers and the best lawyers, which
The ones
Well,
with
there
the
is
most
that too.
money.
There is Google should have good lawyers too. They surely have deep pockets, so
yeah.
they should. But it happens. But it's again, I'm glad that they're appealing. I'm glad that they're delayed.
Annoying. I find
but
this
I'm glad
annoying. The
it's-
people that don't know what they're talking about, that don't have
Yeah.
an understanding of the technology, that don't have an understanding of the platform, that don't have an understanding of the issues, are making the decisions.
Are we talking politics now?
No,
Ding,
no,
ding,
we're
ding,
talking
ding.
about this particular legal case.
I know.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
no,
I'm
I
just
get you.
saying.
Your comment of people making decisions in technology that don't know what they're talking about sounds like
You
politics.
you couldn't make the argument that CEOs don't know what they're doing either because they're not technical.
Yeah, they're not.
Most of them
CEOs are
aren't.
not.
Yeah.
Most
You
of
know,
them
so
aren't.
you
No,
can make that
I
argument
agree.
too.
I agree.
You know,
So anyway,
And good ones admit it.
so
good
I'm
ones
going to
admit it.
move us to
you
our.
are.
I am. I'm going to move us to our Windows segment, but you know what? I'm going to do it right after this brief message.
Okay.
100 episodes. The iTechGear Weekly has more than 100 episodes. We've been doing this, oh my goodness, for almost 4 years. And to be very honest, the iTechGear Weekly needs your help. We need your subscriptions. We need your donations. Anything at any time would be very much appreciated. We need your help. I will tell you that I am about $3,000 a year in on site maintenance as well as show maintenance. And while we're not really going to stop, we really do need your help. Any kind of donation that you can go ahead and provide to us, either through a Patreon subscription or directly to the site via my personal PayPal, Chris at iTechGear.org, would be greatly appreciated. You can subscribe to a monthly newsletter for just a small amount every month at www.patreon.com/iTechGear. If you do that, you get a summary of all of the shows. You get a summary of all of the articles that we post with direct links to everything that happens on the site. Boy, we've had a great time over the last 3 years and change, providing everyone with the steps and procedures needed to make technology all that much easier to understand and use. Boy, again, we could use your help in making it easier to provide those wonderful things that we do, that voodoo that we do so well, to you on a daily and weekly basis. So please, if you have the time, smash that subscribe button on the podcast. If you have the time and you have the inkling, go to our Patreon site, www.patreon.com/iTechGear. Subscribe to our newsletter. Provide us with a small donation. One time, monthly, doesn't matter. We'll go ahead and continue to provide you with that knowledge and insight that all four of us have every week. I want to say thank you to you, even if you don't donate, even if you don't subscribe. I still want to thank you for the opportunity to come to you every week, because we sure do have a great time doing the show. So from all of us here at the iTechGear Weekly and from iTechGear.org, we thank you, we love you, and we'll see you soon. All right, and we are back. This is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 110. He ain't shooting raw. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take us to just
Reaching for
it's
my
just
camera.
a bit
Reaching
outside.
for my camera.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to
Just say
move us.
partner at the end of it. Well,
Thank you.
I'll be
Yes.
good.
Partner.
So I'm going to move us to our Windows segment.
Goodness.
And there's some interesting things that are coming up, and there were a couple of articles that I saw this past week on Windows Central. Now, Larry, I know that you may have seen them as well. Intel's Panther Lake processor is coming out, and apparently they have a new partnership too. So what's going on with those?
Well, before I say even one word about that, spoken from 5 years down the road,
Yeah.
if Intel doesn't get their collective heads out of the backside of their Levi's, the Panther Lake will end up being just another chip that Intel produced back when they were in business.
There you go.
Sorry, but I
Yeah.
kind of
No.
feel like that.
No, it's a good point.
You
And
know,
it's true.
on paper, this new Intel, I think Core Ultra 300 chip will feature all new cores. It'll have all this cool graphics technology for
Mhm.
laptops and enthusiast grade mobile devices. I don't know what that means, that latter part, but I guess it means something like a high-end iPad Pro that doesn't have an M chip in it, I guess. I don't know. But whether or not this comes to fruition won't be seen until sometime later this month, when folks have had a chance to put the chip through its paces in retail computers used by real people.
Mhm.
But you guys heard about this thing. I mean, that's basically all I've heard.
Yeah.
You know what I
sure.
thought was really kind of interesting though is that they have decided to team up with, of all companies, AMD. And I
I'm
think
sorry,
now,
I forgot that. Go ahead.
well,
You're
no,
on.
no, it's interesting. I'm going to let you jump
Yep.
in. I'm going to
No,
let you.
no.
I'm going to let you jump in. But I thought this was interesting. Intel and AMD used to be going at it head to head for a long, long time. And the thought here was that, well, you know, these are the front runners in the microprocessor world, because it was really the Wintel conglomerate, which was basically Windows and Intel and AMD, right? And perhaps a couple of others, that was really driving all of the processor sales. And now that ARM is making such a huge splash in terms of processing power, as well as battery life and power savings and heat reduction, that AMD and Intel are now partnering to go ahead and move the whole thing forward.
Do
But
you think they actually
what
have a
do we
choice?
think could possibly be happening here in terms of, is this just another, not last dish, but one of the final attempts to be successful? Because they're never going to compete with ARM? I don't know.
I don't think they have anything to compete with, and this is just a way to sort of
Right. It's just one more shot in
they're
the dark.
circling the wagons is what they're doing.
They're
Yes.
trying to make
We're
it
saying the
last
same
as
things
long
here.
as they can. Is my point.
You know, and
Yes.
these new chips, it seems to be, and I could be wrong. We'll see more when they come out, like you said, Larry. But these new chips feel like just more of the same with a new label on it. It's what it feels like. But you know, again, we'll see what it really is when it comes out. But they don't feel like anything. It doesn't feel like they're offering anything really new here. They're just throwing more horsepower at it, or throwing more power at it, or whatever they're doing. It just seems like more of the same.
If I were to buy a new PC tomorrow, and I'm not, because I'm looking to quit even using one, but serious I am. But I
No, I
mean,
get you. I
I
get
would
you.
in a heartbeat buy an ARM PC in an absolute
Yeah.
flash. Why would you not? I mean, tell me why.
You know, and I have one, and I'll be able to speak to that in a moment,
Right.
in some ways. But
The only
yeah,
reason I think you might not want one would be is if you're a hardcore gamer.
and that's
Oh,
that's
a
where I
good
was going with
point,
it.
good point, but I'm
But
not.
here's what's going to happen though, Joe, and I agree with you with that. That's the if you're a
Yeah.
hardcore gamer, they're not there yet. But I guarantee you, give it a couple of years, they'll either get there, or there'll be third-party cards that'll support, or add-ons that'll support it and solve that problem, because that's the only remaining problem right
I
now
mean,
with ARM.
they don't have to go through the PCIe bus. They
Right.
can go via
Right.
Thunderbolt if they need to.
There's lots of ways
No.
to solve the problem, and I think it's just a matter of time, you know, before they get there. It's just this is the first shot out the door with this stuff for them.
But the
That's
question is, the thing is even you know, Intel's integrated graphics aren't good. We do
They're
know
not good.
that the ARM graphics typically are good depending on which GPU they choose.
They
See,
actually
there's
are.
less is really known about some of those GPUs. You know,
Yeah.
they're not, you know, it's not like in the Intel world where, you know, NVIDIA is the one ruling the roost, and any NVIDIA card will do just fine for most games in Android or
True.
Windows.
Windows.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
But we don't truly know, well, how well will Windows games work on ARM? And we're
Well,
not there yet.
Well,
and so I can
gamers.
tell you,
let me just say this. I don't think they're going to have any problem at all. And here's why. If AI or today's AI requires the neural processing unit, it might take a bit of a tweak to the way that the game runs to be able to use that particular processor to help power the game. But I think that there's enough processing power in your standard ARM chip with the neural processing unit to be able to drive whatever they need to drive in that
possibly.
game.
Yeah.
All right. There's
Yeah.
enough power there.
I
All
can
right?
tell
Well,
you right now.
the question is will DirectX take advantage of it? That's the thing.
Well,
know.
but Microsoft has a kind of an investment in making DirectX support stuff, so
Yes.
they're gonna want to go there. They're already in bed with ARM.
They're gonna
so
go there. It's just a
Right.
matter of time. All right.
I think it's just time.
And
You know,
folks,
and
no, go
ahead.
ahead.
well, I was going to say,
I was
well, we talk about the Apple as not being a gaming machine. The hardware is there, kids.
It
Just
is.
because people aren't writing for it. The hardware is there. The same thing
Uh-huh.
is going to happen with these Snapdragons. Actually have better graphics than you think they do. They really
Right.
do. But nobody has leveraged it yet. The game manufacturers have not leveraged it yet. It's not NVIDIA high end kind of stuff that way, but it's still very good.
But it's still
middling to
powerful
good.
enough to
It's
drive.
way better. It's way better than the Intel like Iris stuff that
Oh
was in
my
the mobiles
God,
or anything
by
like that. It's
far.
way better than that.
By
So,
far.
I've got some games that do run on it and it runs fine. Usually the only things breaking
Right.
games right now are the stupid DRM. You
Yeah.
know, that's what's
True.
breaking games, not the game
Yeah.
itself.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And
we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I think it'll get there. It's just we're generation one, give it a couple years. It's coming.
Exactly.
It's coming.
I think we're gonna be just fine here. All right.
Yeah, I do too.
On the ARM side. I think
On
you're
the
gonna
ARM
be
side.
just
But Intel,
fine.
again, I think that goes back to why are we seeing Intel do this? We're seeing Intel and AMD do this because they don't know what else to do right now.
Right.
That's what I think.
Well, until you can crack the 3 nanometer threshold.
Well, it's
And
not
they
even
haven't been able to do that
just
yet.
that. They cannot get power saving. I mean, that's their big problem right now. They're
Mhm.
CISC processors, CISC processors. They're not efficient.
Mhm.
They'll never be
No.
efficient. The solution to every problem with that is to throw more power at it. That's not going to be an answer going forward.
Nope.
They have to rethink all this, and they're not.
I mean,
They're
they're-
gonna have to re-engineer
I
and
would have thought
re-architect.
we were past water cooling by this point in
Oh,
time.
holy crud! Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, but now
Here
you
we
buy
are.
you can literally go to Micro Center today
yeah,
and buy a pre-made PC with an
Yeah.
AIO in it, which
You
is
are
water
true.
cooling. I mean,
you're
it's
absolutely right.
it's completely insane for Intel, and I do not understand what the problem is. I really don't.
No, yeah, they're not there yet. So they've got to learn. And as we go to more, AI, where we're drawing power and requiring many, many, many processors to drive it at a server level, they have got to get off of that model and get onto a more efficient model. They just have to. So let's go ahead and I think we're good.
Yeah. It'll be an interesting time, but between me and you, I don't know. Some people are, Pat Gelsinger from Intel, right?
Right.
Is quoted in this particular article on Windows Central as saying, some have said, well, is the x86 done? And he says, well, I tell you, rumors of my death are severely exaggerated. We are alive and well, and the x86 is thriving.
More
Maybe on the
marketing,
desktop,
more
maybe on the
marketing, more
desktop side,
marketing.
Yeah.
maybe on the desktop side, but they are not thriving in the portable
No,
side.
they're
And
not.
let's be clear that the desktop market has been continually shrinking. It's almost a niche market now.
Uh-huh.
Almost.
Yeah, and
So
it's-
the
and it's
mobile
not
market is where
even-
things are.
It used to be that niche market was gamers, and you can't say that anymore.
No, you
No.
can't.
No.
You
Mobile
can't
is
even
where
say
we
that
are now.
anymore. And that's where I'm going. It's like, honestly, you've got to crack the 5 nanometer process
Three.
threshold, or and then you've got to go ahead and figure out what you're going to do with all the heat. You got to figure out what you're going to do with all the power. You've got a lot of work to do. And maybe
Right.
the two of you, maybe Intel and AMD can crack
Maybe
that
together
nut.
they can. Yeah.
Maybe together they can, but right now I give them another 5 to 7.
Yep.
Yep.
That's what I said.
If that
5.
long. If that
Yeah.
long.
We'll see.
All right.
We'll see where it goes.
That's on the outside, but that's just me.
There we go.
And speaking,
And no, we don't really we're doing that, but we're not wanting it to really happen. I'd want Intel to still be there, to be honest.
You know
But-
what? You need the competition to still be there.
Of
So,
course you
Yep.
do.
but
No,
they're
I agree.
they're not acting as competition right now. They're acting
Nope.
as
As a drowning man in a deep
Yeah,
end of a pool. That's what they're
and
acting.
they don't.
as.
They just haven't figured it out yet. That's all.
Yep.
It seems like,
They haven't figured it out yet. They've been after it for more than 10 years.
Yeah. Well, they're
Yep.
still stuck. So
They're
they
still
are.
stuck. They've been at 5 nanometers for more than 10 years.
It
Yep.
takes a long time for the quicksand to work.
Oh, come on, man. The quickcrete is
That's
dry
funny.
already. It's been dry.
Yeah.
Push the
That's
guy in the
funny.
water already. I mean, come
This is-
on. You know,
Oh my
do
goodness.
something different. They got to do something different.
They've got to do something different.
They've
That's
got
what
to
they're
do
not
something
doing.
different. What they're doing is not the
Mm.
same thing. All right.
So
It's not going to solve the problem.
They just keep coming up with new names. They came up with Evo. Now they got this new Ultra Core.
well, that's what
Now
I'm saying. It's the same thing with just a different label.
V
That's what it sounds
Pro.
like.
I mean, they got to have all these cool names, and that doesn't get it today.
Exactly. And honestly, they're killing me. You know.
Yep.
These meaningless names. Yeah.
I don't
But-
want these things sitting on my lap. That's all I got to say. I'm going to get burned.
An Intel machine, absolutely.
But you know where you
seriously.
won't get burned? You know where you won't get burned?
Where will we not get burned, Chris?
Where?
Using an ARM-based PC.
There you go. And
Yeah.
I hear tell that you've found some unexpected value.
I have found some unexpected value
Well, why
there,
did you tell us about it? Come on, man.
partner.
Partner.
Come on down.
Well, I laughed. I think we all kind of laughed at the idiocy of putting this Copilot key on these new Copilot Plus PCs.
You got a Windows
Well,
key
I'm
on it
still
already.
laughing, but
Why
go
do
ahead.
I
You know,
need a Copilot key as well?
But surprisingly enough, so I was, I'm kind of the same way. I'm going like, this is stupid. Why do I need this thing? But I have found myself actually hitting it and using
But
it. from time to
stupid
time.
could be useful too.
Stupid kid. I was just going to say that, Joel. That's exactly it. So sometimes,
Yeah.
yes, it's dumb, and and I would like to see it much more configurable than it currently is. It's configurable, but not in a good way. And some of the ways that they say it's configurable, it's not configurable yet.
It's usable, but not in a good way.
Not in a good way.
There's a subtitle
she
for a
said.
show.
Yeah, there you go. But the point is, it is. I have found myself when I want a really fast, quick answer to something, rather than opening a browser and trying to search for something, I hit that key, ask the stupid question, and I get this quick answer.
You get the stupid answer.
But we have to be careful because, as we've talked about many times on this show, the answers you get, depending on the kind of question you asked, could be great
Sure.
and they could be crap. So you kind of have to read it with a grain of salt. I still think with any chat bot kind of response.
Well,
but,
sure.
But it's something. If I'm doing something quick, like I want it to, we were talking at the beginning of the show. I wanted it to give me a quick comparison between the iPad Mini 6 and the Mini 7, which just came out, and it just slapped a table together for me really fast while we
Sure.
were talking, and I didn't have to spend a lot of time on that. And I pulled those stats without really searching for those stats, kind of thing.
Chris, I think
that
the problem is, though, you're able to tell that differs. Billy
I
Joe
agree.
Bob can't tell the difference, so he's going to be presented with misinformation and accept it.
and accept it. And that's a danger. That's always, and I've said this, I've said that caveat over and over. That's the danger with it. But that doesn't necessarily detract from the actual surprising utility of having that stupid key on the keyboard. It's been a convenience that I didn't expect to use, but I find
It's
myself
just like
using.
Gemini. Gemini gives me a lot of good stuff. I mean, it really does.
But all I got to do is tap this key and ask the question. I don't have to open an app. I don't have to open a browser and start something. I don't have to go to some. I just hit the key, ask my question. I'm done. It's much more convenient than I thought it would be. Is it a perfect answer? Of course not. I would like to see, and I will be surprised. And I think I was talking about this earlier in the week to you guys. I think what'll have to happen is just like when just like when Microsoft got sued over the browser integration stuff, you had to be able to say, I want to use a different default browser. I think the same thing's going to happen with this key. You're going to have to make it so that it can launch Gemini by default or launch Copilot by default or launch, you're going to have give people a choice as to what it does.
If I install iCloud for Windows, am I going to get access to Apple Intelligence on Windows?
No.
No.
Why
Are
would
you sure?
I
No,
can't see why you would.
because Apple's gonna make it so that you can't.
Well,
But
it would be interesting, though. I mean, case in point, right? You're talking about, adding Gemini or Chat GPT or Copilot's already there, but you have those three. If you could throw in the Apple variation.
But isn't Apple a variation basically OpenAI anyway?
No.
You know?
You can add OpenAI's ChatGPT to Apple Intelligence, but Apple Intelligence will process on its own. I think it would be interesting, though, if you could add
Well, I think it's going to be like
the
any
Windows
other,
side as part of Apple One.
I think it's
right?
going to be part. Well, but again, the Apple services are hit or miss on Windows platform.
They are.
So it would be, is it going to be available as a service? I mean, that's really what it's going to be.
Don't know.
If they make it available as they're not ready to do that anyway. But if they
No, they aren't.
were,
not even close.
The question is, will they make it available as a service to other platforms? And if they do
Maybe.
that,
Maybe not.
like Apple Music is available all over. Apple
Right.
TV is now available all
Right.
over. If they do that,
it took more than a few years, though.
It did,
to get
and
there,
it may
right?
still be the same way here. But the point I'm getting at is that this is a hardware key that's in a device, and they're going to say, "Scream monopoly, monopoly, monopoly." You
Yes,
can't
they
use
are.
it. I need to be able to use another service.
And they
Sooner or
will
later, somebody's
cite
going to do
the
that.
Internet Explorer
Yeah,
case,
the
and
EU's
they
gonna
will
do
go
I
it.
know
ahead.
they will. So sooner or later, somebody's going to have to change that
Yep,
up.
they will.
But I think so. I think that's going to happen. But again, my core point today was just like, this is actually more useful than I thought.
It could, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. But even as Joel said, even the most basic thing, and I'm going to use the word basic in this case, I guess, can actually still be okay sometimes or helpful sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes.
Sure.
I'll be very careful. Qualify my statements heavily, but can be.
It'll be interesting to see how that happens, right? How that develops.
Yeah, and it will
Right?
develop. It'll change. This is
Sure.
not going to stay this way. There's no way.
No.
It won't.
No.
So it'll be interesting. Anyway, I just found that kind of surprising. I wasn't expecting that, and I found it surprising. So
Well, it's kind of cool, though, when it does happen. You've got this thing, you've had it for a
you're
while,
like,
and
oh, okay,
you just
huh?
push the button, and all of a sudden, ooh, that's I didn't expect that. That's interesting. Well, there
Exactly.
you go.
Okay.
Every dog has its day.
It does.
True.
Every
It does.
every AI every AI has its
Somebody
day,
has to.
So
Yep.
there you go. So I want to go ahead, though, and I want to move us to our tip of the week segment. Before we get there, I want to remind everybody, hey, iTechGear was founded with the intent of making technology easy for everyone to use and understand. And this team, this august group of curmudgeons, if you will, has dedicated their writing careers to this particular purpose. And every week we're going to have a computing tip authored by one of our experienced editors.
Old.
Old.
You guys have
old
questions?
man.
Questions, comments, requests, suggestions, you can send them all to tips@itechgear.org and we'll get you on the show. Chris, this week, this one is all you.
Yeah, and it may be a hit or miss one, to be honest. To be fair, for some folks it may work, for some folks it may not work, but it's worth going down this path anyway. What I have found is that we had a conversation, I think it was last week. We talked about this extra 8-9 gig of data that is being sucked up by Windows Update. And some folks have suggested, this worked for me, it may not work for everybody, but some folks have suggested that if you run the old Windows cleanup, disk cleanup utility, I apologize, the old disk cleanup utility,
okay,
that is in Windows, and then
you run it as an administrator.
You run it as an administrator.
Right.
And then you push the button at the bottom. It says clean up system files. The first thing in that list is Windows Update files, and it will generally be right around that 8 or 9 gig mark. If you do that, and for some people, it actually does clean up those files until Microsoft comes up with an update, and they hopefully will soon.
Yep.
Until they do, for some folks, this may work well for you. So
Can't hurt to try it.
It cannot hurt to try it. So just sort of keeping that in mind as something, it worked for me, but again, may not work for everybody because I've seen mixed results from people online about it. But I thought it was kind of cool.
Give it a shot. It can't hurt.
It
Either
can't
way, you're
hurt,
going to
and
wind up with additional space, right?
yeah, exactly. So it's something else to look at and something else to try. So I just thought I'd mention it and bring it up, folks.
That's a good idea.
So we'll see how it goes, but
All
try it,
right.
guys.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that very, very rare but valuable tip.
Ah,
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move us to our poke. Yes. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to poke us to our poke of the week segment.
Well,
There you
okay.
go. All
poke
right.
of
But,
the week.
Good for us.
And I want to take just a moment to remind everybody again that our show picks are typically hardware, software, and other items of interest that we have individually purchased and that we actually use and that we like enough that we want to recommend them to you, our growing listener base. These are not paid advertisements or anything that we have an affiliated marketing relationship with. If they were, the editorial policy at iTechGear.org says, hey, we have to notify you about that up front. These are really just things that we sincerely believe in and that we wish to bring to you at the end of each show. Why?
Because
we
like
you.
You guys still suck at this, honest to God.
We'll get it someday.
Wow.
Wah, wah. So
I'll
this
tell
week,
ya.
Larry, the tip is yours, and you've got something that's interesting here. What is that?
I do. And right now, you folks can't see my show co-host, but I know all three of them are looking at me with dropped jaws saying, his pick is a what?
An Android tablet? Are you
And
joking me?
actually, the show pick tonight is a Galaxy Tab A9 Plus tablet. So,
Hmm.
as you all know, I'm a very much an Apple guy when it comes to hardware. And when it comes to tablets, you can't prime my M4 iPad Pro out of my cold dead hands.
Mhm.
But I'm also a certified Google Workspace administrator, and there are many things that can be done with Google hardware and software
Sure.
that some people don't realize you can do. So the other day, and this thing came to me not because I wanted it, because it was a request. One of the organizations I support is an adult day center, and they recently told me they wanted a tablet mounted in the lobby on lockdown, so participants' caregivers could check their loved ones in and out each day, and then they wanted those check-in and out dates and times to be automatically configured and integrated with a Google Sheet. Well, I mean, I'd never done this before, but it seemed pretty easy. So if you take a look at Google Forms, child's play. I somehow knew that an iPad of any ilk was not the solution to this.
Mhm.
Looking around at Android tablets, there's a lot of choices. First one I looked at was actually the Google Pixel tablet, but it's not easy to lock down, and it's a little cumbersome for what they wanted.
Okay.
So I found the A9 Plus at Costco, only $219, includes a cool book cover, and it just shouted, buy me, and try me. So I did. And in the process of setting up this cute little 11-inch tablet, it
Yeah.
became apparent to me that it's actually a nice tablet. For most people that have simple tablet needs, just an inexpensive personal or family tablet, if you will. Geeks, look elsewhere. This is for normal users. But for my organization, I ended up just creating a Google form, had a single icon on the tablet home screen. When they tap that, it opens up an input window. They start typing their loved one's name. It populates from a database, integrates with the sheet, says they checked in at 9:04 in the morning. They do it again at 5 o'clock at night. All done. But when you look at this from the viewpoint of the consumer, this is a sleeper device. I mean, this is a good little tablet.
Am I reading this right? It's $219,
It's
$220.
209 comes with a cool book stand case too.
it's
With,
la-
with
it's
1
last year-
terabyte of storage?
It's last year's generation. That's
It's
why.
last
still.
year's
Ah,
generation.
It's
but
not the
it
current
can-
model.
But
But
I
still.
mean, for a lot of people, the
Absolutely.
M3 iPad Pro is pretty cool. You don't
Yeah.
have
No,
to
I'm
have
with
the
you.
M4 like you and I do, but
Yeah, but this has
I-
1 terabyte of storage
yeah,
Yep.
it's
for
small.
$220.
Yeah, it's
Not to
small.
mention the fact this has DeX as well. So
Yeah, it does have
Yeah.
DeX. It's small, lightweight. The display on this thing is actually gorgeous. It's a
Yep.
reasonably fast device. I mean, for $219, if you belong to Costco, the link's in the show notes. Jump on it. This is a cool little tablet.
No, at $219, it's not 1 terabyte of storage. It's 64 gig of storage for $219.
Oh, okay.
Well, it says
I don't
right
know what's
here.
in
It
it, but-
says in the specifications, and I'm looking at the
I'm looking
Costco.
I am
I'm looking
too.
at the Costco. It says expandable storage capacity.
Expandable.
terabyte.
Expandable.
Expandable.
All right, well, I'm
It's not
looking-
1 terabyte. Look at the
All
top,
right.
the title.
Internal.
I
All right.
think it's
Internal storage
64.
capacity is 64 gigs. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
4 gigabytes of RAM.
You can
That's-
you
But
can
I
put
mean-
a card in it.
okay.
But still, for the average person's tablet use, they don't need anymore. They really don't. Pretty
I have
cool.
to say, Larry, I have the previous generation, the S8.
Mhm.
This is an A. The A series is their cheaper series.
Yeah.
I have the S8, which is their higher series.
It
The
is.
Ultra.
This-
I have the
Mhm.
Ultra, and it's gorgeous. The screen is
Yeah.
their screens on Samsung devices are absolutely gorgeous. They
just
are.
hard to beat them. They
Yeah,
really is.
they really
It's-
do,
it's
and they
like
make them. That's
looking
why
at
they
a
make them
picture.
but that's why they make
True.
them for everyone else too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're getting the native.
But I mean, I found this accidentally, but it just seemed like a decent pick, and I really
this is
still think
nice.
it's a
That
good
price,
little
yeah.
device. It's just
I'm with you.
This is
$200. You
nice.
can't buy anything for $200.
And have a value? No.
No.
I mean, it's 11 inches, 1920 by 1200 screen resolution, Wi-Fi 5, which is still very fast, right?
Yeah.
Man, it makes no difference really for
You know,
home Wi-Fi.
And a 90-day return policy. So,
Yeah.
never fear Costco is here. You don't like it inside of 3 months, take it back.
This thing is absolutely almost as thin as my iPad M4
They are
Pro.
thin. Yep. They
Yeah.
definitely are thin.
Anyway, that's it, boys.
That's
deal,
not
guy.
bad. That's not that is a quality pick, my friend.
especially if you really do want an Android tablet or something
Yep.
that's Google centric. It's a great pick. It really is.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. I like it. All right. Well, kids, that's the show. That's the show. This has been the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 110. He ain't shooting raw. Recorded live Sunday, October 20th, 2024, live from iTechGear Central for Mr. Chris Gavula, Brother Joe McLaughlin, and Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. I want to say we will see you next time.